Welcome to EDU World Space.
So let's take a look at the orbital diagram of oxygen. And so oxygen's electron configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. So if we were to look at the orbital diagram where we have our 1s orbital, our 2s orbital, and our 2p orbitals, we would see that each of these arrows, which represents an electron, fills in. We single occupy an orbital, then we double occupy before we move to the next level. And then we put single electrons into each of the orbitals, because there are 3 suborbitals for p. And then the fourth one, for this 2p4, the fourth one goes into one of the ones that was already filled. But you notice there are 2 empty spaces here, right? We have an empty space here and an empty space here. So oxygen will normally have a charge of 2 minus, because remember, we want to fill the outermost shell. And here with 6 valence electrons in the outermost shell, because the S's and the P's add up, the 2 is the shell. So we have 2 electrons in the S, we have 4 electrons in the P for a total of 6 valence electrons. We want to get to 8, and we can get to 8 by adding 2 more electrons, 1 in that spot and 1 in this spot. And so by adding those 2 electrons, we get a -2 charge. Now that I've added those 2, we have the 8 valence electrons in the outermost shell. Now, why wouldn't we get O3, O-3? Well, if we, let me just draw the orbital diagram again. So if we start out with our oxygen, if we want to go to O3 minus, we would have to add 3 extra electrons. So we would have 1, we would have 2 filling the shell, and then we would have to go to the 3s level and add an electron. Well, we're not going to want to do that. Remember, with 1 valence electron in the outermost shell, the atom's going to want to get rid of that to wind up having a full second shell. So we're not going to have O3 minus because it adds an additional electron that would want to be removed. We no longer have just a full valence shell. We have a valence shell that has 1 electron. It's going to want to get rid of that one. So we're not going to have O3 minus.